are so many people out there who want to volunteer and find a way in which they can help.
We've got some brilliant people that have come out of the school system here in Attleboro.
You actually perform as an elected official the way people should.
There are no agendas. Nobody has any projects that they have to complete, but we're just sharing information.
Welcome to People It's Good to Know. I'm your host, John Davis, and today we have another in a series of candidates for at-large city councilor. Today we have Keith Jackson, former Attleboro firefighter. Keith, thank you so much for being with us.
Thanks for having me on.
For any of those people out there maybe who don't know you or don't know a lot about you, you want to tell us a little bit about your background?
Sure. I was born here in Attleboro, raised in Attleboro, and actually live in the same house that my parents built in 1953.
Oh, that's
my
cool.
wife Kate and I bought that back in 2001. So I've always intended to get a marker made to put out back somewhere that says, in this house, Norman and Virginia Jackson raised two daughters. A third son, Keith, is still trying to grow up in this house, but hasn't happened yet. But I'm in the old homestead, and we enjoy it down there. I have a lot of great memories of both my mom and my dad, and family members, aunts, uncles, cousins over the years. So went to first and second grade at Briggs Corner School. Really? And yeah, my grandkids can't believe that I actually went to school. That was actually a school. And I said, yeah. The boys went in one side and the girls went in the other. And
wow.
But those were the days. Third grade on. Through fifth, I guess, I went to Richardson School because they closed Briggs Corner, so half of the kids went to Bliss and half, or less than half, I guess, went to Richardson. So that's it. Graduated from Attleboro High School in 1979. Always aspired to be a firefighter. It's all I ever wanted. My dad, who spent 30 years on the job, reminded me hundreds of times that there were other things in life besides being a firefighter, but it's what I always wanted to do, and it's what I did. So I did. And
you did that until just recently, right? You retired.
Well, actually,
recently?
I've been out 8 years now. It was 8 years, May 10th.
Really?
Yeah.
I guess we're all getting older. Time goes fast.
Goes by fast, and you can, it seems like you stay together pretty well until you do retire. And I didn't fully retire. I stayed at what was my side job, became more of a full-time commitment, but I think when you retire, you start to fall apart.
Right, because you're also involved in a business that builds fire trucks, right?
Yeah, refurb and build fire trucks. A dealer for several different manufacturers of fire apparatus and ambulances and
that seems like a very cool business.
It actually is. I'm still, even though my official retirement date from that job was April 1st, so all that means is I'm no longer getting paid, but I'm still delivering vehicles that are coming in, with delays for all the COVID.
There's no better sign that you love what you're doing than when you're doing it for free.
Well, I haven't done it since this morning. When I acknowledged our appointment today, I was on my way to Watertown to deliver an ambulance. So, yeah, but it's been a good ride.
That's great. Yeah. So, somewhere along the way, you decided that you were interested in being a city councilor. You want to tell us a little bit about that?
Sure. Yeah, for years, Kate, I think, got on the council in 1997.
Yeah, I think so, because I came on in 99. Yeah,
okay,
she was there.
And that was a big jump for her at that time. But she took right to it and enjoyed it and held different positions, whether at large or Ward 4 for a term or two, vice president of the council, and she enjoyed it. And having her at the meetings on Tuesday nights, oftentimes I would sit home and watch the meeting,
right?
So I know when to get dinner going. I used that line once, and she hasn't let me forget it. But but yeah, I just started watching the meetings and took a great interest in most of the topics. Some things are kind of dry, but I see the council as a whole, committed group of people. Not all of them have all of the answers, nor should they be expected to. It's basically a part-time council. But and I certainly don't enter this race professing to know everything that there is to know. But I am committed to doing the best that I can and to being a fresh set of eyes and ears, for the people and the businesses in Attleboro, and try to make prudent decisions based on the information that I have made available to me. And hopefully I get enough support to gain one of those seats. If I don't, I'm not gonna cry in my beer,
Right.
But I truly feel that I have something to offer, and I'm looking forward to continuing to campaign, and hopefully I'll come out victorious on election night.
Well, I think it's certainly going to be an exciting election cycle. There's several candidates, and even though you're brand new, I think you're someone who's fairly well known in the community. You've worked on other political campaigns for other people over the years too, right?
I have, in minor capacities, going back to.
I think Judy Robbins introduced us in like '94 or something.
Yeah, and that was that was she needed help with signs. And
Yeah.
I know you referenced a week or two ago on one of your shows that, maybe it was Dave Kane's show, but I remember you saying that that once upon a time all the sign frames were made of strapping wood.
Yeah.
And, you had to build the signs. You had to use drywall screws to hold them together.
Yep.
And then you'd staple all the placards on, and then you'd go pound them into the yard, and all the staples would fall out or wiggle out, so you had to redo them. But
what a different time.
Yeah.
It's people don't realize how easy they have it today compared to those days.
Although I'm finding now that I'm doing the majority of my own signs that Attleboro is like bedrock. There's so many, there's stuff under the surface, and I'm assuming that it's mostly just rock. But boy, those wires been pretty easy.
It is crazy. We have a community that it's predominantly rock or water.
Yeah,
it really is.
It is.
So you've, I imagine, been out there going door to door already. What kind of interesting stuff have you run into talking to people?
All the stuff that you hear on a day-to-day basis. People are concerned about the infrastructure of the city. Demands on water, demands on public safety. The school, of course. I heard a couple of the school committee members Saturday on Dave's show. Talking about some of the challenges that the school committee faces and trying to, work with the superintendent's office and the rest of the school committee to be adequately funded. And it's certainly a legitimate concern. It's a concern across the board.
Yeah.
There's
Right. There are a few departments that couldn't stand to have better funding.
exactly. And I often tell people that don't believe just how taxed public safety is from time to time, and that's not my reason for becoming a candidate. There's a lot of reasons.
But it's some experience you bring to the table.
Yeah.
You can cite specific.
If you had a desk job and you were actually just sitting here with this table in front of us, and you had coins or markers or whatever, and you identified pieces of fire apparatus in the city, engine companies, ladder truck, chief's vehicles, the platoon commander, and then the ambulances, you would be amazed if you were listening to a scanner and you're just doing your work, and engine 1, rescue 1 respond to 42 Union Street. So take the green E1 and R1, flip it over to red, and now it's out of service. And a couple of minutes later, engine 5, rescue 2, George, whatever, Franklin McKay Drive, now you take another engine and another ambulance out of service. And now there's a call way down the, far into the city in South Attleboro, and it's engine 2 and rescue 4. So now flip engine 2 and rescue 4 over. But while you're at it, flip engine 4 over too, because as soon as that ambulance leaves that station, that engine is out of service.
Right, because we have some of them where it's one or the other.
It's one or the other.
Yeah.
And then, ladder 1 with an out-of-town rescue. It's not that uncommon to have, North Attleboro, Seekonk, Norton, Mansfield, sometimes Pawtucket, all in the city at the same time. And, I have listened from time to time when the only available apparatus to respond, as a first responder is the district chief on duty that day. So the guy's going out in a chief's vehicle,
Right.
With a box of Band-Aids. It's not quite that
Right.
ill-equipped, but basically in waiting for a mutual aid ambulance or one of our ambulances to free up. So
Right.
it's a concern, and the more housing that we build, and I know that we need housing, we need affordable housing. And the more of these buildings, like across the street, the old Foster Meadows building, the more housing that we build, the more demands we put on public services,
Right.
not just public safety.
And,
but,
and also the increased traffic, because again, you address a lot of traffic accidents and situations. I think again, you're someone who can, from firsthand experience, explain to people how understaffed we are. And I'm sure if we had someone here from the police department, they could articulate some of the similar challenges.
Absolutely.
But I think if nothing else, you bring that to the council, and I think that's a valuable skill.
Yeah.
We haven't had a firefighter since Cook, right? Bob Cook was the last.
Bob ran for mayor years ago. Yeah, he was on the council. Then he joined the fire department, and at one point made a run for the mayor's job.
And then Dubuque before him. But I can't think of too many firefighters though that we've had on the council.
Joe Parent ran
Yeah.
for mayor at one point.
Yep.
Benny Keene, but
Right.
Norton Fire,
Yeah.
council president.
Benny
at
had
the
about
time,
7
so.
different jobs at once.
I think he's down to 5. But yeah, so back to like the example I used with the fire department. What's the fix? What's the answer? More manpower, more resources,
Right.
more assets to deploy at times. But somewhere down the road, somebody's got to write a check.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of demands. Like, Public Works has needs. The schools obviously have needs. Water, wastewater. Police department, of course. They're dealing with an ever-growing population as well.
Right. Well, I think one of the interesting things is not only have you lived here all your life, but your kids and grandkids live here as well, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the family, there's a vested interest here in the
little
long
bit
run.
scattered now, but yeah, we have strong family roots here in Attleboro.
Yeah. I think that's really a valuable thing. I think because it helps to shape your long-term thinking. If you realize that the decision you make today might affect your grandkids 25 years from now, that's a little different than someone who comes and goes. So what kind of things, if you were elected to council, are there anything specific that you think that you might like to try to foster along or encourage? Or I don't mean to put you on the spot.
No, you're not. And it's a great question, but I think, communication between the administration and the council, there's always room for improvement. I'm not being critical
Right.
of the administration, or the legislative body, but there's always room for improvement. And I think when groups of public servants can work together cohesively, it benefits the majority of people by forging better relationships with Beacon Hill and even the federal delegation. I mean, Attleboro's a small city in the general
In the big
mix,
scheme
but I
of
mean,
things, right.
but if working together with our state elected officials and federal elected officials, if we were all pulling in the same direction all the time, I think
Right.
things could certainly.
And over the years, you've been friends with a lot of influential people in Boston. I mean, Jim Tumulty, the former senator, was a good friend of yours.
Great guy. Saw him the other night. Yeah.
Yeah, and so to some degree, you do have some connections that could be beneficial to the community, or at least some experience dealing with people.
I believe so, and I think I'm a pretty good communicator. Sometimes maybe more of a thickhead than a communicator.
Welcome to the group.
Yeah, I mean, we can't all agree on everything all the time, and maybe sometimes my delivery can be a little bit off, but I sincerely do care about people and in their feelings, in their thoughts, and I do respect people's opinions, even if they do differ from mine. And all I've ever asked in return is do the same. Just,
Right.
you know,
Yep.
bear with me.
And I think that's vitally important in this day and age. You know, there's so much division. Everyone seems to just want to call each other names and point fingers. I think being able to respect other people is super valuable. Are there any specific committee you think you might like to serve on?
Honestly, I
Hadn't really thought.
haven't even thought about it. I mean, it's going to be largely in part to who the council president is. I mean, and I haven't thought about that. You know, I'm assuming that President Delisio is hoping, number one, to get reelected, and number two, I'm guessing that, you know, he would like to retain his seat as president of the council. Personally, I think he's done a great job. He seems to have a way about him that's effective and professional. But like I said, there's nothing to say that he's going to be the council president or on the council.
You just never
Nobody
know.
knows. We'll know at the late hours of November 4th, perhaps early hours of November 5th.
Yeah, depending on the
Yeah,
circumstances.
which, if I can throw a plug in for November 4th while we're at it, and, you know, people have said, oh, geez, my signs are red and white with a blue outline. So red, white, and blue, number one. The font is very similar to, goes back to my roots as a firefighter, because it's a kind of a traditional fire truck font that I used. But probably the most important thing about my signs is down the bottom, please vote Tuesday, November 4th. And obviously I put some thought into my signs, and I'm hopeful and I respectfully ask for enough support on November 4th to gain a seat on the council. But if you don't get anything else out of the 200 or 300 signs that I've got out there right now, the bottom line is the most important line on my sign. Please vote Tuesday, November 4th. And if you won't or can't bring yourself to vote for me, vote for somebody. You know, but it's just, you know, it's a right that we as Americans, you know, enjoy.
Right.
And you know,
some people take for granted.
Some people take for granted, and you know, there's a lot of blood has been shed over the years for us to have the right to go out and work within a democracy and vote in a democracy and make choices. So, yeah, the last line on my sign is by far the most important.
You've experienced a lot of interesting stuff in your lifetime. I remember the other day we were at the 9/11 ceremony, and I remember back, because I was on the council with your wife back in the days when that happened, and you and I believe a number of other friends of yours from the regional task force went down there to New York.
There were several different task forces. So Joe Parent, who is again retired from Attleboro now, but he was on the DMAT team out of Rhode Island. So that's DMAT stands for Disaster Medical Assistance Team. Joe was a paramedic and a nurse, so he was deployed down there with his team out of Rhode Island. Bruce Naslin, who lives in Attleboro, but served in Mansfield on the Mansfield Fire Department, was part of the USAR team, number 1 out of Massachusetts, and USAR is Urban Search and Rescue team. I had several members of that team that I'm friendly with from different departments within the Commonwealth. And then my team was deployed. I had guys from Cambridge and Chelsea, Boston, Canton, Reading, just New Bedford. We had, there was probably 12 guys from my team that were deployed down there for quite some time. And again, back to my homestead, that was right smack in the middle of Kate and I moving from our home on Benefit Street down to our new home. And you know, thank God I had the guys in the fire department
help.
that, yeah, the guys were awesome. They stepped up when I couldn't be there, and I helped get Kate and the family settled into our new digs. So, but that was yeah.
I've just, you know, always thought that was a great sacrifice that you and, you know, all your colleagues made to do that. And I think a lot of, you know, time's gone by and people forget, but you know, some of us at least that were around don't forget.
Yep. That's why I got this. That's not why I got it. It was a gift to me recently from another Rhode Island guy that was down with another team. I don't even know what team he was on, but I ran into him a week or so ago, and he had purchased that for me. So, yeah.
So we talked a lot about how we need additional funding in the community to be able to run all the things that I believe are lacking. I think economic development really, creating business in our community is really the only way we're going to dig ourselves out of the situation we're in. And as you and I both know, when we were kids, there was so much industry here, and little by little over the course of time it has eroded. Do you have any perspective you want to add on business and what you think the direction maybe you think we should be going?
Well, certainly we need to foster relationships and try to bring a revenue stream in through business, and Jack Lang through the Chamber of Commerce. I know he's a great advocate for that group. I know he's been, I don't know, it appears when I watch him make presentations before the council when they're setting tax rates and stuff, you can see the frustration in his eyes. And I had a recent conversation with him in which I told him, I said, Jack, I can't promise you anything. I'm going to be, if I'm elected, I'm going to be one person up there. I do promise you that I will respect you, I will listen, and I will try to advocate, the needs and for the chamber and the businesses that they represent. And again, getting back to legislature, the state legislature and the federal, there's revenue streams out there. We need to learn how to access some of the federal funds that are available, and not nickel and dime stuff.
And I think you're right on the money. And I think in recent years, a lot of our elected officials haven't fully understood that. And I think there's been money left on the table because we didn't know how to get a seat at the table. I think, and as you said, I mean, there's always discussion about tax classification and other routine things that we do every year, but there's so many other things we could do to help make it easier on local business people. One of the things I'm sure you experienced as a firefighter was seeing all the new rules and regulations that are constantly coming along, many of which are really good and well-intended, but some of which I think maybe just make things more difficult.
Well, there's a lot of unfunded mandates
you have to do
that
this,
come into play. Even, and again, I can speak with some expertise from my experience in selling ambulances and designing ambulances and whatnot. And I was involved in that business from 1989 until this past April. And over the years, some of the regulations, and that's run by GSA government standards, but just flash patterns on an ambulance. If you look in your rearview mirror and there's ambulance coming up behind you, and in Massachusetts it has to say ambulance backwards on the hood. Otherwise, the inspector won't certify that as an ambulance in Massachusetts. But I don't know how many times you've paid enough attention to say, oh yeah, there's the 4-inch letters with 2 4-inch Star of Lives on either side.
Yeah.
But those are all mandates, and now, and that's an easy one. But now, the cost of a cot, a stretcher, we used to pick them up and load them into the ambulance and click them into what's called a J-bar. It would lock it in, and you get to the hospital and push the button and take the cot out. And if it was a extremely heavy or an awkward patient, we'd get some help, whether hospital staff or have an engine meet us at the hospital. Now you push a button, and it's not so much because firefighters and EMS professionals and police officers aren't capable of doing it. And it's a good thing. It's a good regulation, but it's an expensive regulation. It does cut down on back injuries and inadvertent tipping of a
things
patient.
Happen, yeah.
But But just the cot. Think about this. When you see the guys wheeling a cot across the street and into the ambulance, they're pushing $35,000. And
Amazing.
then when they hit the button to have the receiver come out of the truck, there's about another $30,000. So just to have the bed in the fastener system to get the person to the hospital is $65,000, $70,000, added cost to the ambulance, and that's a mandate. But it's not a mandate that the state kicks in money for, or the federal government kicks in money
Right, they just tell you have to do it.
You got to do it.
Yeah. And again, I mean, that sounds to me like you've got some pretty good insight on some of these things from real life experiences. And again, that's good. Everyone brings certain skills and experiences to the table.
Of course.
But I think you've got some really useful, interesting ones. And now we've got a couple of minutes left here before the show's over. Is there anything that you would like to add that you want the voters out there to think of when they're trying to decide whether they want you as one of their 5 at-large city councilors?
Yeah, and again, I'm not going to make promises that I don't feel that I can keep. But one promise that I feel like I can keep is that I will work hard on issues that are important to the voters, that I believe are important to the city. If, like Chief Hegney has on the police cruisers, no call too small, or if it matters to you, it matters to us.
Yep.
And people have opinions, and I respect different people's opinions, and I hope I'm given the opportunity to put my money where my mouth is and step up and represent all of Attleboro. And again, that's part of my decision to run at large versus a ward seat, because I think first time out and running in a field of 5 incumbents, plus 3 new names. It's an uphill battle. I'm not naive enough to think that I'm. Yeah. So, but I do feel that I have the street smarts. Being an Attleboro kid,
Yep.
I know my way around. I used to know every street in the city. In the last 8 years, a lot of new streets have popped up.
They keep adding them, yeah.
Some I'm pretty good with, and some, quite honestly, I have to think about, where it is, and I can usually figure it out based on who's going where. But I really want to represent the people of Attleboro. I want to keep Attleboro a progressive city moving in the right direction, to serve all of the citizens and keep everybody safe as they're traveling through our roadways, attending our schools, deciding to retire in Attleboro, deciding to move to Attleboro to be near family, because a lot of new families are coming to Attleboro, because in the whole mix of things, Attleboro is still a relatively affordable community in comparison to other communities.
It is amazing. Well, Keith, anyone like me who knows you knows that you're a hardworking, good guy, and I wish you the best of luck. And thank you so much for being with us tonight.
Thanks again for having me.
I look forward to seeing the election results. And thank all of you for tuning in this week. And please join us again next week when we'll have some additional candidates for public office. There are so many people out there who want to volunteer and find a way in which they can help.
We've got some brilliant people that have come out of the school system here in Attleboro.
You actually perform as an elected official the way people should.
There are no agendas. Nobody has any projects that they have to complete, but we're just sharing information